Hello, and welcome to the NASA Lifelines Ready for Impact webinar. I'll get started in a few minutes. If you have questions, comments, please include them in the chat. And yeah, thank you for being here. To those who are joining live, to those who are watching the recording, please feel free to reach out to me if you have additional questions. Put my email in the chat here. All right. I'm going to get us started then. So the NASA Lifelines Ready for Impact program is an incubator program and pitch competition designed to help scale promising humanitarian innovations powered by Earth science. So Lifelines is a new initiative, partnership between NASA Earth Science and Dev Global that's creating what we're considering a community of the future, using Earth science to improve humanitarian action. And by bringing together affected communities, humanitarians, scientists, and policymakers, we really hope to unlock the benefits of satellite data and tools for more effective and inclusive decisions before, during, and after a crisis. So to give you a bit of context on what we're hoping to do overall with this initiative is over the course of 6 years, engaging a really diverse community of experts and to build new collaborations and innovations for humanitarian action. We're hoping that through this work, humanitarians will be better prepared to deploy Earth science for their missions, make decisions quicker, and spend less time addressing information gaps. Also feeling more confident in decisions and having this additional source of unbiased, traceable information that we have enabled through Earth science and Earth observation. We're also really hoping that humanitarians using Earth science can realize improved coverage and have more equitable and effective programming through this work. This may not be a surprise to some of you who are tuning in here in the humanitarian sector, but there's a very significant need. I think 1 in 23 currently on the globe are in need of humanitarian assistance. There are pretty significant funding gaps for assistance. And within that, less than 1% of humanitarian programmatic funding goes toward innovation. ELRA just released a webinar sharing that less than 0.2% is actually the more accurate number. And so this is what we're hoping to do and support innovation through this program as well. So a couple of notes on why we're hoping that you who are tuning in should apply to Ready for Impact. Number one, it's to help strategically articulate an impactful vision for work that you've already piloted that you hope to advance. It's to gain a platform to really pitch an innovation that you've been working on in front of panelists that are representing all sorts of funding organizations, which I'll share toward the end of our call. Also, it's to connect with experts from different humanitarian organizations amongst our advisors for the NASA Lifelines program, including NASA Earth scientists and other geospatial technologists who are really dedicated to advancing your work and its impact over the course of a few weeks of our incubator program and beyond. We also hope to share resources and training opportunities to really help illuminate what works and what enables scale of Earth science innovations in humanitarian settings. We've listed some organization eligibility requirements on the website. And I wanted to just highlight some of these and maybe share some of the thinking behind them. The opportunity is available for both individual organizations to apply and organizations in partnership. So you'll see quite a diverse range of organizations who we want to encourage to apply. the lead organization on an application, we really want partnerships within local communities and areas in which response is happening, and earth science information is impacting end users. We also are requiring that, or at least one of the organizations in partnership must have a $500,000 annual operating budget. So this is really a program that's intended not to provide the first sort of, seed to hypothesized or initial, innovations. This is more for innovations and, projects that have already been able to build a little bit of momentum through a pilot, and are looking for, what we would consider in the startup world, sort of a Series A, sort of next, opportunity for additional financial support and other resources and support through the program. So we recognize that, some organizations are going to be able to meet these requirements on their own. Some organizations may, be working on projects in partnership, and we want to be able to encourage that. And so we're hoping that no more than 3 organizations can apply together in partnership, given the sort of logistical challenges of coordinating participation. We hope that at least one of these organizations is able to really meaningfully participate in the program. So the innovation eligibility requirements, this is the project that is being submitted to the program. We're hoping that these are novel ideas employing earth science innovation for humanitarian action. So that means that this is not an approach that's already commonly used in the humanitarian sector. It could be an approach that's used in some other sort of industry and for a different purpose being applied to a humanitarian sector. And what we really hope is that each of these projects is using satellite data in one way or form. The earth science innovation has to be, working in a country on IRC's 2024 watch list for humanitarian emergencies. And so you'll see these listed here. This is inclusive of projects that have been piloted in other places, but have partnerships and plans to expand into these contexts. And to reiterate, these projects, we are requiring that they already have some evidence from a pilot program that has some metrics on how it is that the earth science innovation has been impacting an organizational approach and reaching toward a goal or mission. We aren't being prescriptive in what exactly these impact metrics are, but hope that through the application you're able to articulate those very clearly. Couple of other notes here. We're looking for work that can hopefully scale to reach greater impact than was initially framed in a pilot. So we're hoping to not support just the continuation of a pilot in the same context. And also, that an organization can sort of demonstrate that they understand the context and the system in which their work is happening. And in a reiteration of the, evidence of understanding, there's also, I think, a requirement here to make sure that this work is an improvement from the status quo. And I'm sorry that some of the text is getting cut off here. These requirements are also available online. Some of the challenge themes that we have, according to some of the priorities of the different panelists that we have, are access to clean air, access to clean water, equitable climate action, building bridges between groups and partners, scalability obviously is a main criteria here, but also human-centered design principles. So design with the end user, be that decision maker, response organization, or other in mind. We've gotten a question on whether or not you're able to still apply if your project does not necessarily fit neatly into one of the themes. And the answer is yes, absolutely. we consider any application that meet the eligibility criteria that I've outlined previously. So here is the program timeline. And so my hope is that this will clarify what it means to participate in what we're calling the incubator, which is really a very, light touch, tailored experience in which we hope to offer significant support, but on the terms of our finalists. So applications are due April 2nd. We'll spend a review of a week determining finalists based on our selection criteria. We'll announce decisions on April 10th, and then have an initial check-in with each of the finalist teams to understand needs and challenges that we can support. Over the later half of April, we'll have some group check-ins where we'll bring in some NASA Lifelines technical experts and our curated set of our advisors based on team needs. And then we'll spend the first couple of weeks of May doing some training on communicating impactful visions and coaching on how to deliver an effective pitch. Part of the program, if you'll have read the eligibility criteria, is that we're hoping that each of these teams will be able to pitch either in person or virtually at the SAT Summit Showcase in Washington, D.C. And that's a 10-minute pitch, and I'll get a little bit more into that later on. Some of the trainings and educational materials we hope to have available. Our panelist from Amazon Web Services has offered a training in using NASA imagery on their platform. And we're also planning to curate some additional resources based on finalist needs that are identified in applications. So please be sure to include those. There is a question in the application surrounding those needs. The SAT Summit Showcase, to just go a little bit more in depth into this, we're convening a group of leaders from the satellite industry as well as experts in global development for a couple of days of presentations in Washington, D.C. One of the sessions on the first day is going to be this 90-minute pitch session. And you're able to deliver a pitch in person or virtually if needed. And we'll give finalists 10 minutes to share work in front of these panelists who are representing funding organizations interested to support both with in-kind and financial resources to the projects. Moving on here to our next slide. Sorry about the overlapping text, but we're hoping that each organization can, be positioning itself for investment of, around $500,000 plus in-kind resources or other support and partnerships as needed. Our panelists are representing a wide range of organizations: NASA, the World Bank, AWS, the Public Foundation, and Mercy Corps Ventures. Some of the questions that we've been getting in here from individuals who have sent notes. Is the use of drone data considered within our definition of Earth science innovation? And if you are combining drone data with satellite data, yes, that is in scope, but drone data alone would not necessarily qualify. Question, is this an application for a grant? As I've laid out before, this is not an application for a grant. It's an application to the program, which gives you the support, resources, and a platform to pitch this project in front of our group of panelists. Do I need to have a technical partner to be considered? No, not necessarily, but we're really looking for some demonstrated technical expertise, either from the lead application organization in-house or through a partnership. What types of support will I have access to? As I mentioned, advisory support, in-kind resources like NASA imagery, as well as AWS cloud credits through one of our panelists. We're really asking, and again, for applicants to share as many specifics in the application as what help that you think you might need so that we can tailor our programming. And then some additional questions here around implementation timelines for projects. This is really determined on a case-by-case basis. We're looking for initiatives to show progress towards scale and in implementation during the first year, but a lot of times this work takes longer to produce solid evidence. So that'll be, case. And how many teams will be selected to pitch. So we have capacity to support about 5 to 10 project teams as finalists. Whether or not each of those teams will have an opportunity to pitch is dependent on, in-person versus virtual capacity. All finalists will have an opportunity to pitch if they choose. And what does it mean to really fully participate in this program is another question. We want to, have groups be able to complete some independent self-assessments based on some questions that we have throughout the program. These are very light touch. We have some educational content to review, and we'll have at least a few meetings with our NASA Lifelines staff and program advisors and mentors during April and May. The last question here that we've gotten is, if you can't make it to the pitch showcase, does this disqualify you from pitching? And then again, no, this does not. Teams who are committing to pitch, can deliver a pitch virtually. And we will consider some priority in selection process to groups that can attend in person. And we got a follow-on question. We unfortunately cannot support, visa sponsorship for individuals who are applying to be able to attend in person. And so if that's the case, we want to make sure that that doesn't give you some sort of unfair, disadvantage if you're applying outside of the United States. So yeah, I will end it there. So please, I haven't seen any notes in the chat. But if you have questions, I'm happy to answer. All right. Thanks very much, Charlie. I can see the chat's working. If there's any other questions, please don't hesitate to reach out. Again, my email's in the chat. And yeah, I look forward to reviewing applications. Please do not be intimidated by the number of questions that we've asked. You do not need to give essay long answers to each of these questions. We're looking for some evidence of strong thinking around each of these questions. So yeah, thank you very much. And I guess if there's no additional questions, I will end the webinar. Yes, okay, one more question on repeating the part about participation in person to the pitch event. Thank you, Andres. So if you're able to attend the SAT Summit program in Washington, D.C., this is where we'll have the pitch showcase. There is an opportunity to be able to deliver a pitch virtually if that doesn't make sense. I recognize that this summit is 2 months away, so coordinating travel will be somewhat difficult, but it will be a live pitch session where our panelists will be there in person, and we'll be able to pitch in front of them as well. And the in-person component, we would love to have at least half of our finalists be there in person, but recognize that that may not be possible for everyone. I hope that makes sense, but happy to answer an additional question. So traveling funds for the pitcher, or does organization have to cover these costs? Great question. We do not provide travel funds for the SAT Summit Showcase. At this time, We do have a discounted rate for speakers at Sat Summit, which we can coordinate there. And definitely encourage you to look for other opportunities to be able to get some subsidized travel to attend if you're able. Great. Thank you very much for the questions. Any more questions? I'll be on for maybe a couple more minutes in case there are additional questions or requests. And don't be shy if you just want to say hi in the chat. More than welcome to as well. All right. Thank you, everyone. And you'll be able to share this recording after the fact if you need to with anyone who you'd like. So again, please don't hesitate to reach out with questions and encourage everyone to apply as well. Yes. Mention of funding. Is there a budget from NASA and partners that's available? It's the funding is really entirely dependent on the pitch. So our panelists are interested and represent funding organizations. There's not a specific pot of money that's available and allocated to each team. But what we're really hoping to is identify within our pitching groups a clear pathway to scale, including through financial resources. And so it's on applicants to be able to articulate what those needs are, and also highlight the need that one of our panelists is able to support. So the specific amount is not set in stone and is dependent on that individual, relationship between, judging panelists from a funding organization and applicant and partnership as well. Good question. No problem, Andres. I love the questions. Y también tenemos criterios de elegibilidad en nuestro sitio web. Si quieres mostrarlos a los otros en su organización también, pero el programa funciona solo en inglés. Okay.